And once again, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are watching or listening to this video here on a Friday as we prepare for another weekend. And we are in the midst of the baseball playoffs. And if you're a baseball fan, this is the best time of the year, whether your team is in it or not. Now, I'm lucky enough that my team is in it. We'll get to them. I talked a little bit about their game last night, of course, but I wanted to just take a little peek at all the four remaining series. First, we'll start off in the American League. Game one tomorrow in Cleveland. Detroit versus the Guardians. And of course, these are two teams who have had a long history with each other, whether it was the American League East days or now the American League Central days. The Guardians have owned the Central the the past few years, and there will be some that will say, well, took advantage of having arguably the worst team in the history of baseball in their division, but still, they were doing this before the White Sox bottomed out, so to speak. Now, as for the Tigers, I think we all thought that at some point the Tigers would catch fire, but I know for me, they're about a year ahead of schedule, but it shows you what pitching, defense, and of course timely hitting will do. They literally got hot at the right time, similar to a certain team in the National League we'll talk about in just a minute. But they have parlayed that into what appears to be, I think it's going to be a real good series. I think Cleveland will win, but Detroit's going to push them. Detroit is going to, this is going to be as big a push. This is going to be as big a push as we're going to see with the Guardians because they're a division foe. So again, real interesting series to watch. I think Cleveland has the advantage. The other American League series, which their first game tomorrow is going to be at 6:38. That's also going to be on TBS. And for us old-time baseball fans, this is a little bit of nostalgia as the Royals take on the Yankees. And if you remember the 70s and early 80s, the Royals and Yankees were it was almost a yearly ritual, sort of like the Pirates and the Reds back in the 70s, where they would always seem to be going at each other in the postseason. And, so much has changed between both franchises. Of course, the Yankees have won a few titles between then, and even the Royals have won a couple since the last time that they met in the postseason. Uh, Yankees are favored, and rightfully so. They're the number one seed. Kansas City, again, good young team. If you haven't known or heard of Bobby Witt Jr., you'll know a heck of a lot more about him once this series is over. With the Yankees, they're a little depleted in their starting pitching staff, and they're going to be without Nestor Cortez, but we saw how now that they have that second guy now with running out. I'm forgetting names here, but Rodon has really stepped it up for them to help out Cole, so he doesn't have to be the whole thing by himself. I think the Yankees will win, and this is going to be more of a, I guess you could say, more of an education for the Royals because they're sort of playing with house money in a sense because a lot of people didn't think they would be there this year, but it'll be an interesting series if nothing else for nostalgia. On the National League side, we have a rivalry with two Western Division foes, the Padres and the Dodgers. Dodgers, they're the top seed, of course, and the Padres just finished behind them in the National League West. This is sort of redemption again for the Padres. Yes, the Padres knocked out the Dodgers a couple years ago after they won, but there's still that little brother, big brother mentality that goes on between this rivalry here. Now, the one difference with this Dodger team going into it is that they don't really have that strong pitching that they've had over the years. A lot of their best pitchers are either on the mend or are pitching through pain. Now, I don't think we'll see Otani get on the mound. I don't think they'll do like what the Mets did, where they surprise everybody and say they're going to sing in game one. Again, we'll get to that in just a sec. But I gotta like the Padres in this strictly because they seem to be a little more balanced than the Dodgers. Now, look, with a lineup that has Otani and Betts and Freeman, they're going to be in it. They're not going to go away lightly. But if it really comes down to pitching, you got to give the Padres the edge. Now, they're going to be without Joe Musgrave, who is going to have Tommy John surgery, so he was going to be out for this series. But again, I just think the Padres just are a little bit more balanced overall. So I like the Padres to win. And then finally, of course, we have another division rivalry: the Phillies and the Mets. It's well documented what the Mets have done, particularly for the last month or so. They have arguably have been baseball's hottest team, and they've rode that into the playoffs with their dramatic win in the final game in Milwaukee the other night. Phillies have been to the World Series numerous times. They feel like they're just that close to getting there. Um, their pitching staff, on paper, probably a little bit better than the Mets. Although, as I said, the surprise move of bringing in Senga to pitch Game One, I don't know how much that pushes the tide over for the Mets, but it's a heck of a move. Just to be able to have sort of that ace in the hole. They already have the extra day off for the bullpens or what have you. So again, just like what happened with the Milwaukee series, taking a game in Philly is going to be key. Although in this instance, it's best 3 out of 5 as opposed to best 2 out of 3. Uh, I'm not gonna lie, my heart says the Mets can win this, but you got to favor the Phillies strictly because of the playoff pedigree, um, because they've been to a World Series. They got knocked off last year by Arizona, but this is probably going to be a real entertaining series because they're division foes going at each other in the postseason. This is the first time they've ever played each other in the postseason, much like with the Guardians and the Tigers. So again, if you're a baseball fan, you really have got to love the next. If you haven't loved the first round, you gotta love this next round because you've got a little bit of nostalgia, you've got some rivalries and what have you, and again, it should play out real well. Looking forward to seeing how this plays out. And again, all the games start tomorrow. I mean, just with the National League games, of course, San Diego and LA. That'll be the late game on Saturday. That's on FS1 at 8:38, and then Mets and Phils will be on Fox. And first pitch is a little after 4 p.m. on Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your day, evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are watching or listening to this. And as always, we'll talk to you again soon. Take care.